What up, Space Fam? Goes in here from Anime Up. We're back at it again to discuss the latest and craziest developments in the One Piece story. This time around, we got a lot to cover, like the true identity/identities of Vegapunk, Bonnie's connection to Kuma revealed, why CP0 is returning, the shocking reason why they're returning actually, and the non-Yamato character who's actually joined the Straw Hats. So make sure to stay tuned for this packed chapter. Channel parking with it, and smash that like button if you enjoy these weekly One Piece reviews and want to keep them coming. Make this the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications or you will miss future One Piece videos and updates. And now, without further ado, let's jump into it, spoilers and all. This chapter is called Adventure in the Land of Science, and we start where we left off last time with Vegapunk's cool mecha and some of our Straw Hats, including Zoro. I love seeing Frankie fanboy over Vegapunk, as he says they're his role model. He even comments how he spent 2 years in Vegapunk's hometown. Even after going through Vegapunk's lab, there was still a load of stuff he didn't get into. So I think this arc will be a great opportunity for Frankie growth under the tutelage of Vegapunk. And of course, people are still obsessing over the giant mecha, and I get it. While watching Code Geass and the Gundam series, I definitely fantasized about how cool it would be to have one of those mechas myself. And if you're like me and you thought about it too, then you definitely want to smash that like button. I love how Usopp thinks to himself that he can't wait to show the mecha to Luffy and Chopper, and then we see Sanji also reacting in awe like everyone else, but of course he's actually focusing on the stunning lady rather than on the robot. Robin is the one that gets down to business, saying she's never heard of Vegapunk being a woman, and also that the girl in front of them is too young since Vegapunk has been active so long. And this could have been explained in a variety of ways, like the whole having a cyborg body thing, but as many of you noticed last time, there was a Punk 2 on this Punk shirt, and that does come into play here. In reality, Punk 2 explains this isn't the main Stella body, but Punk 2 Vegapunk Lilith. More on this whole aspect of Vegapunk later on in the chapter. For now, Punk 2 tells them that since they run through their research funds in a jiffy, she'll allow them to skedaddle if they just relinquish their valuables. I love Vegapunk's personality here. Everything for money so that they can work more on research, completely obsessed just as a mad scientist should be. Nami is hilarious when she says, "What kind of rescue do you call this?" Only for Punk 2 to again reiterate this is not a rescue. Weaponized sea beasts are summoned, but the funny thing is, they all seem to be based on non-sea animals like giraffes and lions, but with scales. Frankie for his part is still excited to see the sea beasts, while Usopp is already starting to get worried here. Zoro though is cool, stoic, and calm as always. Then Punk 2 gets a message not to underestimate them. It's pointed out that that's pirate hunter Zoro, who has a 1.11 billion bounty. It's also pointed out how calm Zoro is and how Zoro knows Punk 2 is in his range and he can end them in an instant. The same goes for Robin. Sea beasts or not, they know how to prioritize the most essential targets first. Because of the so-called imbeciles that awed over Punk 2 and the inventions, she was lulled into a false sense of security. I like how everyone played a role here in getting the upper hand against Punk 2, even if they didn't know what they were doing. Then Zoro finally speaks to Vegapunk, and when Zoro speaks, we all listen. He says, "There's something I want from you, so you'd better play nice. Got it?" End quote. So cool, man. So cool. And then Punk 1 is shown from the back. They're called Shaka or Logic, and this one says, "Bring them, I have an interest in that crew." Ironically, it's also pointed out that only Punk 2, the one looking like a young girl, has the old man voice. This one doesn't appear to. But what is really cool about Punk 1 is that they wear a helmet that looks to be inspired from Daft Punk. And that would obviously make sense with the Punk parallel as well. As a huge fan of Daft Punk, I absolutely love that detail. We then jump to Luffy and Bonnie. As I guessed, Bonnie reveals that Kuma is her father and that Vegapunk turned him into a cyborg, which is not as cool as Luffy thinks because he completely lost his sense of self. She says with tears in her eyes that he's nothing but a living weapon now. Jinbei says it's unforgivable, while Luffy keeps calling Bonnie Boogie. Bonnie also mentions that she has some news about Sabo since she met him at Marijoa, but comments that she can spill the beans later, which is a huge tease and something we have to look forward to in the upcoming chapters. They enter a room and see cool stuff like a giant robot and a space monster and just futuristic stuff all around. It turns out though that most of this stuff is just a hologram, and when they find out that the food is a hologram as well, Luffy, Bonnie, and Chopper really get upset. Jinbei is the voice of reason here. Although he's never seen one, he concludes it must be a a hologram, and Bonnie is the one that points out that it is a 3D image made of light, and even adds that you see them in comics and science fiction stuff, which is pretty meta and great. Luffy thinks that the robot must be a hologram too, since no one could make something like that, although of course we know that Vegapunk can and did, as the other Straw Hats saw. Then they run into Punk 6, also a girl design, and the hair actually reminds me of Shanks' daughter's hair from the new movie. It's explained that this is a winter island, but with the magic of science, they can set it to tropical mode. Imagine if instead of snowbirding to a warm country over the winter, you could just set your country to tropical. Pretty cool technology, I must say. Chopper notes that Punk 6 is as big as Kaido, and when Luffy punches it to see if it's a hologram, it backfires. Punk 6 punches him back and sends him flying. He hits into the machine with the pictures of food on it, and it produces burgers and fries. Here we pretty much see stuff available in Tokyo today, but even more extreme versions of it. Luffy, Bonnie, and Chopper pig out, and I really like Luffy and Bonnie's shared love of food, I must say. This dynamic between the two of them is really growing on me. We're told the unmanned cooking device can turn raw ingredients into one of 500 unique dishes in under a minute. It's added that the make do with what you've got mode is the best, and I love that Oda added that last mode because I was wondering what happens if some ingredients run out before others and you can't really get what you wanted. Of course, if you're rich enough, you can probably have it refilled every day. Punk 6 points out that they can't be too happy since the lack of competent engineers means that it can't be mass produced, and wonders if following the blueprints are really that hard. The lack of funds and resources clearly upsets Punk 6, who hits the dragon-looking creature. And if you're wondering how she was able to punch the hologram, it's because her photonic gloves make it possible to physically interact with light. This is a very interesting idea too, and something that we'll definitely see down the line in our world. We already see it a bit in how we can interact with augmented reality through our phones. Luffy asks if the hologram girl he's looking at isn't real, while Punk 6 throws in some philosophy, saying debates on what makes something real are as old as time. It's something you'll have to decide for yourself, but I consider the matter settled. Again, this is kind of meta, as Oda is also asking us to consider whether the world of One Piece is real to us. And in a very true but philosophical way, I think it is. But perhaps that's enough philosophy for this video. Punk reveals herself to be Vegapunk, and Bonnie says it's a lie. Luffy even mentions he heard that name from Kobe, so Oda is there teasing the fact that Luffy will probably soon find out that Kobe's been kidnapped by Blackbeard. Then we jump to CP0. They say Vegapunk is still technically a single individual, but that his genius is second only to his busyness. It's revealed that he split himself into 6 satellites. Rob Lucci thinks about how much of a pain that is. We then get the crazy twist. They're going to take the new modified Kuma to Egghead, and while not damaging any priceless assets, they will eliminate every last Vegapunk. Rob Lucci, understandably, is not crazy about eliminating the most useful man in the world and wonders if it's got something to do with the Luducia incident where Sabo was seemingly blown up, but he's told to not ask questions and to not get them into hot water. Interesting seeing Lucci question his superiors though, and I hope he does eventually flip sides because he is a pretty cool character. But how crazy is that there are 6 Vegapunks now, and I can't wait to see how they actually work. It's said you can only effectively focus on one thing at a time, but it seems like the satellites can act independently from each other, so I wonder if they know what all the others know, or if they have to share their findings with each other every day and keep each other updated. We already know that it seems like they can communicate with each other whenever they want. Very interesting stuff. And the fact that Vegapunk is now wanted by the world government means that the Straw Hats and Vegapunk are definitely teaming up, and it's possible that Vegapunk could even be the new Straw Hat we've been waiting for. Or at least one of his satellites could be. Yes, there is some overlap between Frankie and Vegapunk, but while Frankie is primarily the shipwright, Vegapunk could primarily be the scientist. Either way, for a time, there is no doubt in my mind that Vegapunk will be acting with the crew. Things are really setting up to be good here with the Straw Hat, CP0, Vegapunk, Kobe, and Blackbeard all potentially being involved in this arc's climax, and that's just some of the characters that have been set up to be in it so far. Now, channel the Pirate King within and smash that like button if you enjoy these weekly One Piece reviews and want to keep them coming. Make this the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications or you will miss future One Piece videos and updates. While you wait for the next video to drop, feel free to check out my huge and growing One Piece playlist that includes new updated videos about all 7 Yonko, all the admirals, an hour-long video about Shanks, and much more. Link to that is in the description. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.